So I spent most of my life thinking I was damaged goods and that I was not enough. And I grew up in a family with parents that were not happy in their marriage. My father, who is my hero, and I'm a daddy's girl, drove me to excellence. I think he saw something in me from when I was little that needed to be challenged and lifted up. But sometimes those lessons he gave me were hard. And so in my child's mind, what I often thought was that I wasn't enough, that I couldn't be perfect the way I thought he wanted me to be. You know, as children, sometimes we don't understand what our parents are asking of us, or that they're inspiring us to do. My mother was wildly creative and really, really smart. In fact, she was in medical school in college when she met my father. And she quit medical school because a teacher told her that if she was too smart, she wouldn't be able to find a husband. And she quit college to marry my father. And I tell you, for probably all of their marriage, she resented that. She was so creative. When I was a little girl, she started to work with clay. And her first time out, she created this. Her first time working with clay. And you can see the features in the face, the nose, the eyes, the hair. It's just phenomenal. I'll pass this around so you can see it. And when she looked at it, and I remember her coming to me when I was a little girl, and she said that it was so wonderful that it frightened her. And she put it away and never looked at it again for decades. And in my child's mind, what I heard was that whatever's wonderful in you, you can't trust because you don't know where it came from. And so I learned to play small. Now I know my parents loved me dearly and gave me the best they had. But I carried those messages of not being enough, of not being perfect, that I had to hide my gifts for decades. And that's the filter through which I did everything, that I had my relationships, that I took a hold of opportunities that came to me. I ran from most of the opportunities that were offered to me in my life because I was afraid that I couldn't do them perfectly. And we all know you do nothing perfectly the first time, or maybe the 10th time, or the 20th time. I was afraid to try things. I was molested as a child by a neighbor. So I thought I was damaged goods. For decades, I carried that into my 40s. And so many men and women carry that kind of trauma to their last breath and never heal from it. But I'm here to tell you today that none of that matters, because we are simply divine. Amen. Simply divine, very simply. We are children of God. We have an innate divinity that is the core of who we are. And it took me many, many years to even be able to look at that, say it out loud, or begin to comprehend that it meant something for me in my life. We are not the trauma that we experienced. We are not the mistakes we made. I've made many. I still make them. And we all know that. We've all made mistakes, haven't we? But we are not our mistakes. We are, very simply, friends, divine. I was reading in the Course in Miracles. When I first picked up the Course in Miracles years ago, and I read the first chapter, I didn't know what the heck it was saying to me. And I put it down, and recently I picked it up again, and now it makes sense. So I bought this book in the meantime that said Gifts from A Course in Miracles. And let me read you this page. It says, this is entitled Identity. There is no conflict that does not entail the single simple question, what am I? Every decision you make stems from what you think you are and represents the value that you put upon yourself. Only an illusion stands between you and the holy self, with a capital S, that you share. You who perceive yourself as weak and frail, with futile hopes and devastated dreams, born but to die, to weep and to suffer pain, hear this. All power is given unto you in heaven and earth. There is nothing that you cannot do. You will identify with what you think will make you safe. Whatever it may be, you will believe that it is one with you. Your safety lies in truth and not in lies. Love is your safety. Fear does not exist. Identify with love and you are safe. Identify with love and you are home. Identify with love and find yourself, capital S. And it has this information at the end. Let me not forget myself is nothing, but myself, capital S, is all. I was created as the thing I seek. I am the goal the world is searching for. You are the goal the world is searching for. And you've heard me say it before, and I will say it again over and over again until one of these days you look at me and say, is she saying that again? Oh my gosh. But as long as you have breath, you are here for a purpose. And you are necessary. And you are treasured and loved. And you have something to do on this earth. You have something to do on this earth. So we are beginning a journey today. And my vision is that we declare that we are spiritual explorers. And that we are going to be fierce and bold about discovering that self with a capital S. And that we're going to keep walking forward individually and with each other to discover this divinity in ourselves. The world needs us. Look at what's going on these days. The divisiveness, the hatred, the things that you hear and read on social media, the news, the violence, the hunger, the disease. All of us, each of us was put on earth to solve a particular problem. And here it comes again. If you got breath, you're here to do something about something in particular. And it doesn't matter if there's somebody else who has a similar gift. They cannot manifest it like you do specifically. So it doesn't matter what everybody else is doing. Do you. Spiritual explorers. What does that take? So when I was beginning my journey in unity and hearing things like you have innate divinity and that there is only one power and one presence active in my life and in the universe, God the good omnipotent, I had to wrap my head around that. And I began a meditation practice daily. And the first day I tried to sit and meditate for 5 minutes, I about lost my mind. 5 minutes in the quiet. After the first minute, I looked at the little stopwatch I had in front of me and said, oh my gosh, I got to do 4 more of these. Yeah. To sit by yourself in the quiet. Our lives are so noisy now. Our world is noisy. And so we're used to that. We're attached to our phones and information, news, notifications, everything is flashing at us all the time. And to separate ourselves from it is hard. But folks, you will never find that divinity or experience it within you if you don't go within. Amen. You gotta sit in the silence. And sometimes when you're in there, you may not feel so comfortable, because there are days I've been in the silence and just wept the entire time. Because your stuff will come up and you'll start to hear that voice within you that talks to you all the time, but because of all the noise and because we won't tune out, we don't hear it. That still small voice within you is talking to you all day long. Sometimes it's telling you, don't get on 75 right now. Sometimes it's telling you, don't take that work opportunity. Sometimes it's telling you, don't open your mouth, it's not the time to talk. It's telling you, this business opportunity isn't right. Don't date that person. Don't return that phone call. Or like when I was discovering what it was like to have a loving, peaceful, joyful relationship, I was getting messages to open my eyes to this man here. But he was unlike other men that I dated. And so I didn't recognize him as someone that was for me. I couldn't believe it, that I deserved that. And so my self-esteem after I met him in the beginning told me that even though we were together, that something was going to happen. And maybe one day he wouldn't come home. Yeah, for about 6 months, I was afraid he would be taken from me. That's what happens when we don't believe who we are truly. But now I believe it every day, and I get to look at him and affirm who I am and affirm for him who he is. That's why people come into our lives. So we're going to explore together and support each other in this journey. We're going to learn, what does this mean? We're going to talk about, how does this apply to my life today? With what I'm dealing with right now. Aren't those the kind of things you want to know? Because sometimes you read scripture or you hear a lesson or somebody, a minister or somebody talks about something and you say, that doesn't apply to me. I don't know how to do that. Or I don't know if I want to do that. Or that kind of pushes my buttons. I don't want to meditate. There's some days I don't want to either. Because I just want to get to whatever it is on my list of things to do. I got stuff, right? And the stuff is creeping up on you as soon as you open your eyes, right? You got the kids. They need you right now. The job is calling. You got Facebook notifications. It's important, right? But there's nothing more important than that inner adventure that you can take every single day to find out who you are and get all of the answers you need for absolutely every question in your life. Absolutely every question. If you dare to ask. And there are times when I ask out loud, what does this mean for me? Really? And the answer always comes. A couple of months ago, I was really going through what people call sometimes the dark night of the soul, and it lasted for about a month. But I really wanted to know what were the things in my life that were holding me back from stepping forward into big opportunities. Why do I still play small from time to time? And I did ask. I was in my meditation. I said out loud, I want to know. And boy, did I find out. Oh my gosh. I got the answer. And so about 2 days later, and I don't usually journal, but these ideas started coming to me. I remembered probably every mistake I made in these 59 years. And I started to write it all down. And I remembered stuff from high school, from grade school, from college, the knuckleheads I dated, the stuff I got into, and I wrote it all down, and I wept through all of it. All the things I called myself. The times I called myself stupid, undeserving, unloving, unloved. The days, the years, the decades I carried shame, all of that came out. And I poured it out on those pages. I asked, and it told me. And my poor husband is watching me write and cry. And I kept saying, I'm okay, honey, I'm okay. Really, I am. I asked for this. But it all came out. And I grieved it. And it was okay, it was good. And it was uncomfortable. But it's what I needed to step forward into what I was being called to do. 30 days later, Judy Howard emailed me to ask me about this opportunity to be the spiritual leader here. Who would have thunk it? Right? Spirit is calling us. And all the times you say, Spirit can't possibly be talking to me. Know that Spirit is. Know that not only are you worthy, but that you have every single thing inside of you to make it happen. And when you don't know, Spirit will guide you to the next step. Now, I've always been a control freak. Yes, I said it out loud, honey. And I've always wanted to know, what's the long game? So, Spirit, if you're going to call me to something, I want all the steps right now, and show me what it's going to look like, and how is it going to happen. And tell me when I'm going to get there, and I want to get there fast. Right? But what Spirit does is give you a step at a time. And I'm thankful for it now, because if I heard a year ago that I would be standing here this morning, it would have scared me to death. And I wouldn't have gone. So you're given what you need at the time. You're given what you're ready for at the time. And trust it. And I've never been called to anything that didn't sound crazy. Because the little self with a little s, lowercase s, only picks the safe things. Spirit urges us on to be so much more than we ever could have dreamed or imagined ourselves. Whether it's the depth to which you love, things to say or not say, even in your marriage, to your spouse, to your mother, to your sister, to your brother, to your coworkers. Sometimes it takes a lot of energy to hold yourself and to restrain yourself from saying things you should not say. But Spirit is right there to guide you in that moment. And sometimes all we want to do is lash out because the anger is rising up. And Spirit is saying, nope, hold it in, take a breath. Be love.
Yes. Thank you.
Be love. And all you want to do is say something to your spouse. It's right there in the back of your teeth. And the last thing you want to be is love.
No.
But we're always called to something greater. And I know a lot of you are sitting there right now saying, I know she's not talking to me. There's nothing greater here. It is, people. Again, you are simply divine. Children of God, part and parcel of the same force that created the heavens and the earth, that breathe life into your heart and your soul. That's who we are. And together we're going to discover that. So one of my big ideas, and it's actually not my idea because I believe that Spirit gives me all of this. So now that I said yes to this, all these ideas are coming. And so I always think, and it's always worked for me, it's not just enough to hear things and read things. We have to practice them. Like you got to sit in meditation. And if you can only do 2 minutes, do 2 minutes. And happy dance all over the house that you could sit for 2 minutes. And when you can get to 10 minutes and 20 minutes, sit in the silence for 10 and 20 minutes. And one of the things I'd like to do here is to have meditation time, maybe prior to service, for about 15-20 minutes. So we can practice together. And then you know what it feels like when you get home. And you try to do it every day. And the other thing I'd like to try, if you're willing, and I have a survey somewhere, I think it's out on the table out there, is maybe on alternate Sundays, maybe the first and third Sundays, we do a lesson like this and have a service. And then maybe on the other Sundays, the second and fourth, that we have a discussion time, that maybe we start off with sacred music and sing and have a prayer, but then we discuss what we talked about. Talk about the things we're struggling with, the decisions we have to make, the misgivings we have, the fears we have, the doubts we have about who we are. And we learn from each other. We share our wisdom. And it won't be compulsory to talk. You can sit and just listen. In fact, most of our learning happens when we shut our mouths, right? But just coming and listening to other people, the people that we share this space with, can teach us so much. Because then we get to see that maybe we're not so different. That it doesn't matter how we show up, where we were raised, who we voted for, how we worship, how much education or money that we have, that we are all dealing with something. And we're all just trying to make it through every single day. But we're here to support each other. So it's something I'd like to try. We'll have a survey and you can let me know. I love that idea. I hate that idea. I'm not sure, but maybe I'll try it with you. And we'll see what happens. But be fearless. More wisdom welling up within you. You will surprise yourself at the things you will do and say and feel. You will wake up in the morning feeling like you're the luckiest person on the planet. And the people around you will change, because when you change, your energy changes the people around you. Your relationships will get better. All the toxicity in your life will start to fall away. And you will be so glad to be alive. And you will try things that you've never tried before, things you've never dreamt of trying before, because Spirit is going to prompt you. Just say that you're open. And sometimes it's enough to say, I'm willing to be willing to be open. And that's a crack just enough for Spirit to get in there and say, all right, let's do this. And on the days when you feel like you can't, like I often do, I say, you know what? I don't know if I have this. But Spirit, fill me. Tell me what to say. Tell me what to do. Go to the silence and wait for the answer. And if you don't hear the answer, it must not be time. Just wait.
Yep.
It's hard to wait, isn't it?
Yep.
We want it now. We want it loud. We want it clear, right? Be courageous about waiting. Be courageous about finding out who you are. You have lives to change. Whether it's your children, your coworkers, you have a business, there's an idea that's been in your head that you've been thinking, oh, this thing keeps coming up for me, but I'm not going there. It's time. The time is now. This is your support place. This is where you come to refuel. This is where you come so I can remind you that you are very simply divine. And we're going to learn how to remind each other and remind ourselves every single day. Psalm 139 that we listened to in that first video. I praise you, for I am wonderfully and fearfully made. Fearfully meaning awesome. And the statement right after that again is, I know that full well. I want each of you to be able to look in the mirror and say, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. I know that full well. My prayer for you today and this week is that you discover the miracle within yourself and the miracle in every single person you meet and in every moment of every day. God bless you.